Hello, my name's Cameron Lascaris and you're watching another television review on Cam's Camera Talks. Today the show is Gotham, Season 2, Episode 5. Spoilers ahead. So this episode starts out and we see that Theo Galavan still has control of Penguin and that Penguin's mother is still alive. I said that I was unsure whether she was dead or alive at the end of last week's episode. Well, this has cleared it up. Basically it's just a way for Theo Galavan to get Penguin to do his bidding. But in this episode you can see that Theo Galavan has finally really taken over Gotham. I mean, he's got control over the police, he's got control over the public, he now has control over Penguin and therefore the crime section of Gotham. I mean, the man is just unstoppable at the moment. Penguin really hates the fact that Theo Galavan has one over on him. You can see him slowly just driving insane. I mean, he beats that guy up who says he lost his money. I mean, he's saying all this stuff to Butch. At the end, he chops off Butch's hand. I mean, the whole fact that Theo Galavan is now in charge of him is just driving him crazy. But you can see how Penguin is trying to slowly plot his way to try and bring down Theo Galavan. I've not mentioned her before, but Tabitha Galavan, that's Theo Galavan's sister, is actually a badass as well. I mean, she has been from the start, but she's just not really been that much of a prolific character. She's always been doing things, but she's not really contributed to the story in a massive way yet, but I hope she does. The police in this episode are also trying to continue to take down crime, so that's Gordon, Barnes and Bullock. They're trying to take out any kind of illegal action going on. At the beginning they take out one of Penguin's businesses, later on they try and take down sort of a black market shop, and then they fight with the Pikes. And that's basically their story arc throughout this entire episode. I said it last week and I am going to say it again, but I feel that the good guys in this episode are the boring parts, and it shouldn't really be that way. I mean, luckily at the moment this isn't really a problem, but when we come later on in the series and we have to be rooting for the good guys to take down the bad guys, it is going to be a problem if we're actually sort of rooting for the bad guys because they're the interesting characters. You just don't want to see them explore them a little bit more. In this episode we're introduced to the Pikes and Bridget, to be specific, and I thought these were really good characters, especially Bridget. I mean, I thought she played a good range of emotions in this role. I felt sorry for her, at the same time I knew she was a little bit crazy. But Bridget Pike in this is playing Firefly. Firefly is a supervillain most notably known as Garfield Lynns. He appeared in the first season of Arrow, but it looks like Gotham's taking it in a new direction by making him a female. So now we have a female version of Firefly. But she's a really cool character. I like what they did with her in this episode. I mean, this episode kind of reiterated the fact that Kat doesn't really have a role at the moment. I mean, she's a big character. I mean, she was a big character in Season 1, so she has to be in Season 2. And also the fact that she's later going to turn into Catwoman, that's also prolific in the fact why she needs to be in the show. However, I just think that they're trying to shoehorn her in at the moment. I mean, there was no real need for her to be in this episode, and it looks like they're trying to get her in with this Bridget Pike, which is going to give her a little bit more story and a little bit more meaning. But to be honest, in this episode I was more interested in Bridget Pike and not Kat. One of the big things that Bridget Pike does in this episode is that she breaks into sort of a Wayne Enterprises building and she steals a knife. Now this is a pretty cool looking knife, and throughout the episode we learn a little bit more about this knife, and the backstory to it is even more cool. So Penguin's got this knife and he brings in sort of this old antiques lady to tell him about it, and she basically says about the past of Gotham, and the way this was executed was done really nicely. The only issue I had with it was I think it was in the same room that the story was being told in modern day. I'm like, don't you have another set which you could have used? But in all fairness, that is a really minor thing compared to how interesting and well this was pulled off. So in this section we find out that Gotham used to be run by 5 families. The Elliots, the Kanes, the Crowns, the Waynes and the Dumas. Elliot is a nod to Tommy Elliot, who is Hush in the comics. He was a good friend of Bruce's when he was a child, and sort of he drives insane to become a plastic surgeon, and basically his story is he just wants to become Bruce Wayne. It doesn't look like they're going to go down that route because they've not even introduced Tommy Elliot yet, but that's just probably a nod to their family because they were one of the richest in Gotham as well. The Kane family is probably a nod to Bob Kane, the creator of Batman himself. The Crowns, I actually had to look into this, but there is a character called Abel Crown in the comics. He's not really been in the comics very much, and he's not really played much of a big part, but he does seem like he was a rich guy. The Waynes need no explanation, and the Dumas. Now these are going to play a big part in season 2. So it's important to know who they are and what they stand for. So in the flashbacks, we're shown that the Dumas are just eradicated by the Waynes. They're kicked out of Gotham, their names are removed from any kind of records. And that's what Theo Galavan said in an earlier episode. And the woman finally reveals that Theo Galavan is actually a Dumas. They changed their name from Dumas to Galavan. Now this is a shout out to the Secret Order of Saint Dumas. Now this is a big part of Batman comics, and he's most notably known for the character of Azrael. So 2 people have been Azrael in the comics. So the one from the Arkham series is Michael Washington Lane, yet the one from the Nightfall comic is Jean-Paul Valley. Now Theo Galavan could actually turn out to be Azrael, but I don't think they're going to go in that direction. Azrael is more of a fighter, but Theo Galavan just shows that he's more of a brain and a smart guy. I just think they're bringing in the Dumas family to just try and take down Gotham, and it's a pretty good story. They've integrated this story from the comics and brought it into Gotham really well. Not only is this a shout out to the Dumas family, but it's also a shout out to the Court of Owls story. So the Court of Owls story is about groups of families who run Gotham City, and obviously this talks about 5 families who ran Gotham City. But it is interesting to see how this plays out throughout the rest of the season. The Court of Owls story is a good one for Gotham to do, because you can sort of do it without Batman being there. I mean, of course it's a Batman story and Batman plays a big part in the comic book, but the organisation itself really has nothing to do with Batman, but it has to do with the Waynes. So it's a good story for Gotham to actually do on their show, and it looks like they're actually pulling it off pretty well so far. So the big reveal at the end of this episode is that we find out Theo Galavan's plan, and it's to kill Bruce Wayne. It's to get revenge for his ancestors. We found out in the flashback scene. It's going to be a really good way to tie in Bruce Wayne into the main plot of the series, also bringing Penguin, also bringing Gordon. Basically, it's going to be, by the end of the series, it's going to be everyone against Theo Galavan. But yeah, I can't knock this episode. This was a really good episode yet again. Gotham are holding a very high standard at the moment. They're doing very well, so congratulations to them for it. Anyway, if you've liked what I've brought for you today, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter at Cam's Camera Talk. There's a link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. The character's not necessarily a problem, but every time he came on screen it just felt like he was giving a teaching moment.